Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the conflict that is going on between Israel and Iran. So with respect to that, what impact or effect can there be on India is what we will discuss. Of course, because it's a globalized world, the integration, international trades, etc. are going on, because of which dependencies are created among each other of one country on another, as a result of which things happening in one corner of the country, of course, affects the other corner of the country. And this is not even the corner that we are talking about, but the extended neighborhood of India is where all this is happening. So of course this is going to affect. We will see how. So what is the news or the article all about? So as we know, Iran and Israel conflict is going on, which is leading to increased instability in West Asia. Now here, when you talk about Iran and Israel, so it's not just these two countries, but the entire West Asia that will be politically or geopolitically unstable, and the countries surrounding them will also be affected, as a result of which the entire region will be affected. So it is not just that these two countries are going to affect, but what they are doing is going to create ripple effect as well, as a result of which India will be impacted, because India's economy is heavily reliant on energy imports. And where does energy import come from? It comes from West Asia majorly. In fact, as per the map, we'll see the countries which are very close to the war front are the ones exporting so much of crude oil or LNG, etc. to India, as a result of which, of course, India will be impacted, because the trade routes will be impacted, the markets will be impacted, the price is going to fluctuate, so on and so forth. So first things first, the trade route dispute. Now, since the war is taking, not, let's say war is not these days, it's not a foot war face to face at a particular level, but the missiles, right, the rockets are being launched, all those things are happening. So this is where it is being launched from. Now if you look at it, if this is the war zone, if this is your war zone, what will happen? There is a trade route over here. This is the Red Sea and the Suez Canal is what is over here. So what will happen? There is a high possibility that this will be blocked, or this will be a huge security threat. So instead of exports from India going to West Asia, even to European states or European countries, instead of taking this route, it will be required to take this route via the Cape of Good Hope at the bottom. So the route will become huge. Right, it will be too long. Now with respect to let's say European countries, not that much of a difference, but with respect to trading with West Asia, it is going to be a even more distance, as we can see from this map over here. So this is one big problem. Second, the Strait of Hormuz, which is India's oil lifeline. Why? Let us understand that. So this is the Strait of Hormuz, and this is Iran, and from here where the rocket launching and all those things is happening, because Iran is a part of the war. So what will happen to this strait? This strait is also not geopolitically stable. I hope that is clear. As a result of which, what? Now, why is this, as we said, India's oil lifeline? Because if you talk about LNG, Qatar is the biggest exporter of that to India. And where is Qatar? Here. So it is exported from Qatar to India via this route, as a result of which it again hampers India's energy, or specifically the oil lifeline. So any closure or blockade, of course, it is going to reduce the supply. When the supply will reduce, the prices are going to go up. Now, if you look at impact on India's energy imports, so around 85% of the crude oil requirement of India is imported. So we import up to 85% of our requirement. If you talk about the import, these are the countries from which we import: Kuwait, UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Russia, and the rest of the world. Now, very interestingly, you do not see the name of Iran over here. Now, why is that so? We'll see, because there are sanctions being put. So we'll see who has put what sanctions on Iran. Right. Now, if we talk about the macroeconomic consequences, when the supply will go down, what will happen is the prices will go up and there will be inflation. Which kind of inflation? Cost push inflation. What is cost push inflation? Whenever the price of the raw material goes up, because of which there is inflation in the market, then that type of inflation is known as cost push inflation. What is the other type of inflation? The other type of inflation is demand pull inflation, wherein the raw material is not getting costly, it's just the demand is increasing, or due to some other reason supply may go down, so there's a demand supply mismatch. That's a demand pull inflation. But a cost push inflation happens due to the increase in the prices of raw material, any commodity, any rare earth mineral, because of which the cost of production itself goes up. If that happens, it is going to increase the fiscal burden and the subsidy bill of India. Right? Because see, why subsidy bill? Subsidy bill is an indirect thing. Of course, fiscal burden will increase because you will require more money to buy the crude oils. So fiscal deficit will increase. Now, when things will become costlier, the government would be required to give some subsidy to the people. Why is that so? Because people will not be able to afford it, so there might be a possibility. So remember, this would be an indirect thing, that this may or may not happen, but this is more likely to happen than this. This is a choice which the government can make. Further, rupee will weaken. Why? Because to import, you will be paying in dollars, in foreign currency, specifically majorly dollars. So when you pay in dollars, what happens? Huge amount of dollars. Demand of dollars, right? So when the demand of dollar is there, the price of dollar will increase, and relatively the rupee will, of course, weaken over here. It will lead to further cost of oil. So this is going to reinforce each other, as a result of which, when inflation is there, RBI tries to control that inflation by increasing the repo rate. But when repo rate is increased, the growth side might be impacted. So if inflation is there, the RBI would be nudged or forced to increase the repo rate, as a result of which the RBI is going to lose any scope that it has to lower the repo rate for economic growth. So what will happen? We will start trying to fight inflation, as a result of which growth will again be impacted. So these are the effects that can happen because of the Iran-Israel war. Now, one important thing, as I told you, why is Iran not an exporter of crude oil to India here? Because what happened in 2018 is USA put a sanction on Iran, primary sanction, wherein it talked about not trading with Iran. At the same time, it put a secondary sanction on Iran as well. What is secondary sanction? See, Iran and USA are two players here. So when they put sanctions on each other, that I will not purchase from you, I will not sell to you, that is primary, dealing with the two. But when USA imposes sanctions on the rest of the world, if they trade with Iran, that is a secondary sanction, because the issue is between you two, but you are bringing the third party into question. So what USA had done in 2018, it said that, boss, no country should be trading with Iran. Now that does not mean every country would abide by it, but what has India done is, India has since then not imported crude oil from Iran. See, if there is an urgent necessity, we may, right? Because we have a dehyphenation policy. Dehyphenation policy is what we are doing with one country is none of the business of any other country. So that is there. But since we have various other sources of crude oil, so it's not a pressing need. So we are like, all right, fine, we won't. So since 2018, we have not, as of now, we have not imported any crude oil from Iran. I hope that's clear. Now, based on this, there can be an MCQ that can be asked just to brush up our knowledge of it. Not necessarily this type, but on these lines can be asked. So the question is, consider the following statements. The Strait of Hormuz is located between Iran and Saudi Arabia, is what they are saying. Is it between Iran and Saudi Arabia? Look at the map. So see, the news is about crude oil, this, that, but a map-based question can be asked. So is the Strait of Hormuz between Iran and Saudi Arabia? No, it is between Iran and UAE. Right. Second is Qatar is one of the top LNG suppliers to India. Yes, that is correct. First statement is wrong. So when first is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Second is correct. So B or D. Third is India resumed oil imports from Iran in 2023. No, India has stopped it. Until now, it has not started importing oil again from Iran. So this statement is also incorrect. So the correct answer here will be 2 only. So when international relation news is there, but if any region or country or any state or any geographical thing is talked about, the map also becomes very important. Thank you.